check on Facebook. We are live. Okay. Share it. We're live a couple of minutes early. Anybody tuned in? Show starts officially at 6 o'clock. I got to get all that little stuff like sharing it on other pages, starting stuff. So that's what I'm doing right now. We will be starting very shortly. Share to oh, turn my volume down. Share to about it. Share to anybody tuned in already? We're starting officially at 6 o'clock. I'm just doing all the early stuff, sharing it so people can watch it on various pages. Stuff that I cannot do while doing the show at the same time. So I start early. Already have a comment. Hey, a lady's already tuned in. An old lie to us. Share. Share to. No comment. Share to the share. One more minute to go. Okay, 6 o'clock on the dot. We are starting right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show, episode 272. This is the Census show. I'm joined with my lovely co-host, Lorraine Lopez. We're going to have some people from the Mount Vernon Complete Count Committee. And then after that, we're going to have some people from the Yonkers Complete Count Committee. Before that, I just wanted to run a few things. I wrote a couple of notes down about the census that I wanted to bring off and set the mood. This is the United States Census of 2020 is the 24th United States Census. If you want to make a difference in the future of your community, this is the easiest thing you can do, complete the 2020 census. If you haven't filled out the 2020 census, you have about 1 month to do it. There are exactly 38 days left. Remember, the census form is only 10 questions, none of which asks about your legal status. This is the first year people can fill out the census in 3 different ways: online, through the phone, and through the mail. The census provides important funding for programs in the states. Programs like Head Start, WIC, SNAP, Pell Grants, your roads, hospital, clinics. Now more than ever, in the middle of the pandemic, we definitely want to do this show because it's even more important to focus on fill out the census. You have until the end of September to fill out the form. September 30th, I repeat, September 30th is the last day to file. It was October 30th, but Trump took away 30 days now, and we have exactly 38 days to go. The 2020 census counts everyone living in the United States and in the 5 territories: Puerto Rico, the American Samoa, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. One person should respond for each home. That person must be at least 15 years of age. They should live in the home or the place of residence themselves and know the general information about each person. They should count everyone living and sleeping there most of the time as of April 1st, 2020. That includes young children, foster children, roommates, and any family members or friends who are living with you, even temporarily. But please note, if someone is staying with you temporarily as of April 1st due to COVID-19, they should be counted where they live. Now, it says this includes college students who should be counted where their school is, even if they're home early because of COVID.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I just went. I got this from the COVID site. I got this from the official site. And I'll be sharing links with all this stuff so people can see it for themselves. If you live in student housing, the college will count you. But if you live off campus, they should complete the census off-campus address and include roommates and people living there. And it also, if someone is staying with you as of April 1st who does not have a usual home elsewhere, please also include them in your account. One of the most important things, we decided to do this, again, there's 38 days. We lost a month, so it's 38 days left. Secondly, cities like Mount Vernon, Yonkers, Peekskill, and there are a couple of others. They are amongst the lowest response. We are leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table. All of y'all complain about your roads and all y'all complain about things you want City Hall to do and the cutting of services and not having services. Not filling out the census will make sure that you continue not to have those services. This is where I believe the city gets $10,000 per person per year. Over 10 years, that's $100,000 per person. That is counted. Again, the count for Mount Vernon, and I have to check the numbers again, was somewhere in the 50s and the 60s. I know Yonkers, Mount Vernon, Peekskill, Ossining, and a few others are all under 70%. That means there's a lot more people to be counted, and places like Mount Vernon specifically needs these resources. Places like Yonkers needs these resources. And one more thing I want to include before I open this up. We are also in danger of losing 2 congressional seats in New York State if there's not a high count in the census. One of them will be in the Mount Vernon, Yonkers area somewhere. I'm not sure where. Yes.
That would be Engel. That would be Jamal.
I know for sure. Engel, yes, and Jamal. See, we have 2 black two African American, new African American congressmen, and we could lose one of them, at least one of them, with a low count. Because if the count is low, they're going to say we don't need both of them. So they're going to combine the congressional district and create one somewhere else where it's a big district and they can split it up. So these are all the little things I just wanted to put out in the beginning of the show, because this is very, very important.
One other key component is keep in mind that with COVID, we're going to need these federal dollars. We have lost so much because of COVID. Right. That we're going to need this money just so that we can regroup
And there's a text message I definitely wanted to read from Cynthia Turnquest Jones. She said, the census is also a guide on how much rent a person pays. They take the information and create a medium. The reason why rents are so high is because those that complete the census are those of a certain income bracket. So the people with lower income brackets are not filling out. So when they do the medium, they're doing the medium of those who filled out the census.
Wow.
That's something I did not know. And I thank you, Cynthia, for pointing that out. And I definitely said that I was going to mention that. Shout out to her. She sent me that earlier. Shout out to all that are tuned in. Aleda, Osborne, Nakisha, Cheryl Blue, Brownlee Fox, Vivian Spady, Michelle, Gwendolyn Nix, and several others. We're going to, do you have any other words before we get into Mount Vernon? Do you have anything else that you want to add? If not, I know we're supposed to start. We're just going to go ahead and start. Both of them are on deck. So we're going to bring in the two Mount Vernon, members of the Mount Vernon Complete Count Committee. And while they are checking their audio and all of that, we'll introduce them. Maria, can you hear me? Maria, can you hear me? She's still trying to get her audio on.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can.
It's noisy where I am, so that's why I'm on mute, but I can hear you.
Okay, Maria, do me a favor, please, and pronounce your last name for me so I do not mess it up.
Sure, no, Dautruche.
Dautruche?
Yeah.
Aha, got it. So we have Maria Smith Dautruche, who is from Mount Vernon, New York. She is a member of the city's Complete Count Committee and the Westchester County African American Advisory Board. She is also, I'm going to try not to mess this word up, enumerator. Is that how you pronounce that? Enumerator in Westchester County and the 2010 decennial census. That's the right way to pronounce that, decennial? Okay. I'm getting these words right today. And is the vice president of the National Urban League, where she manages the historic civil rights organization's relationship to the U.S. Census Bureau. And we also have Tamara Stewart, who is a community.
Now get it right, AJ.
Tamara.
You should know, as long as we've known each other.
Tamara Stewart, who I've known for 30 years at least. For some years, just a couple of years. Tamara Stewart is a community activist and one of the founding members of the Mount Vernon Complete Count Committee. In addition to being passionate about the 2020 census, Ms. Stewart is deeply committed to safe and affordable housing, and she serves as the tenant representative of the Westchester Rent Guidelines Board. I want to start. Cynthia Turnquest Jones sent me a text, and she said the census also dictates how much rent you pay because they figure out the medium, and why the rent is so high is because a lot of people of the higher tax bracket are the ones filling out, and the ones with the lower tax bracket are not filling it out. So when they do the medium, it's a higher number. And you do, and I only asked you about that since you're a representative of the Westchester Rent Guidelines Board. Are you familiar with that, or can you speak to that at all, if necessary, if possible?
So the Westchester Rent Guidelines Board determines rent increases for rent stabilized apartments.
Okay.
And only rent stabilized apartments.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to have you on. Emerson reached out to me, and I also talked to Reverend Darren Morton. And as I was looking up today, there are exactly 38 days left.
That is correct.
To September 30th. No longer October 30th, September 30th. And Mount Vernon and Yonkers and Peekskill and one or two other cities are in the 50s to 60s. They're definitely under 70%. and they're among the lowest ones, the lowest response. And I don't know if you heard the little thing I said at the beginning of the show. One of the things I pointed out was that we're leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table by not filling out the census. This is definitely for if you wanna help the future of your community, the easiest thing you could do is fill out the census.
That's absolutely correct.
So I'm going to let y'all talk about the committee, the count, and whatever you want to share with the people.
Go.
Go ahead, Tamara.
All right. So good evening, everybody. And I
Good
just
evening,
want to
good
say
evening.
thank you for giving me this opportunity to sound the alarm about something that's really important to all of our lives, and that is the 2020 census. Now, the census counts the number of people in the United States and its territories every 10 years. And the Constitution requires that everyone living in this country, regardless of their citizenship status, be counted in the census. Now, the census determines representation in Congress, as well as how congressional districts are drawn. And given that we're in a political season, there's a little bit more emphasis being put on that aspect of the census. However, probably more importantly to a lot of the communities that are struggling right now is the fact that the census determines how $1.5 trillion per year in federal funds are distributed to state and local governments. Yes, you heard me correctly. 1.5 trillion with a TR dollars, okay? Every year. New York State, Westchester County, and your local community collectively receive billions of dollars every year based on how many of us get counted in the census. Now, these federal funds pay for important things like education, public safety, housing, public transportation, street and road repairs, Medicare, Medicaid, health clinics, SNAP, senior programs, community block development grants, mental health programs, Pell Grants for college, among other things. So, for instance, even the amount of coronavirus vaccine doses, when they finally come up with this vaccine that everybody's waiting for, the number of doses of the vaccine that will be distributed throughout the country will be based on what? The 2020 census.
Wow.
Now, speaking of COVID-19, fighting the coronavirus pandemic is creating some huge deficits for state and local governments. New York, as you well know, has been especially hard hit. And our state is facing cuts to vital public services if the federal government doesn't provide some relief. Not only will these cuts hurt many of our most vulnerable communities, but they may also force the government to impose some property taxes and other increases to make up the difference. Remember, federal dollars are distributed based on the count, not on the need. These are our hard-earned tax dollars, and we deserve to get our money back. Coronavirus also significantly interrupted the 2020 census count. So back in April, the Census Bureau asked to extend to the end of the count from July 31st to October 31st. And at the time, the request was received public support from Congress and the president. However, at the beginning of this month, suddenly the Trump administration did an about face and decided to abruptly cut this count off on September 30th, a whole month early. And as AJ pointed out earlier, that means we only have 38 days to get everyone counted. Now, if you've already completed the 2020 census, thank you. Please encourage your friends, your family, and your neighbors to get counted too. And if you haven't completed the census yet, please either go to my2020census.gov, G-O-V, or call. You can complete the census over the phone. In English, the number is 844-330-2020. Again, in English, it's 844-330-2020.
I'm
Now, let me
going
see
to
if I was
let me
about to say, hope.
let me just say,
Mhm,
when you get a chance, please email me that information. Because when I post
absolutely.
this video and I do my little write-up on Black Westchester, I want to put all that in there in links so people just click on the things and they can see the numbers and they can get all the information themselves as well too.
You got it. So I also want to give you the number en español. Let me see if mi traducción es a bit rusty, but en español el número es 844-468-2020. Did I get that right? Lorraine, did I get that right? Okay.
Your mic is off, Lorraine. Your mic is off.
Wait, you said 2020 at the end, 2020?
2020, sí.
There you go. You said it better than I could have.
Okay. All right. Now, on a personal note, if you are as upset as I am about what Donald Trump is doing to our country, there are 3 things you should do. 1, wear your mask. 2, get counted in the 2020 census. And 3, vote Biden in November. Thank you. There you go. AJ got on the mask. That's right. Yay!
And it says be counted. Did you see that?
That's right.
So before I go to Maria, Brenda gave you a wave in the thing, and she said, Tamara, Stewart, and Maria, welcome to the People Before Politics radio show. And HB Davis said, thank you, AJ, for hosting this show of such critical importance. We need all hands on deck. Citizenship has its responsibility. Be counted and vote. No excuses. Go Mount Vernon. Other people just said good evening. Adrian Van Loo said good evening. And that's it. So Maria, I see you driving around. What would you like to add to what she said?
Yeah, I would. Thank you so much for the invitation, Tamara. I will always respect and value your leadership. It is wonderful serving on the Complete Count Committee in the city of Mount Vernon with you. And thanks again for the invitation, AJ. Lovely to meet you virtually, Lorraine. Looking forward to what you have to say as well. So I'll just say specifically to Mount Vernon, our numbers of self-response. And so self-response means we on our own using 3 methods, either online at my2020census.gov, over the phone, and Tamara already shared 2 of the numbers. There are 13 languages available.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
I've sent AJ that list, and he'll post it again.
Yes.
So you could do it on the phone, or you have received a form in the mail, a paper questionnaire. You can fill that out and send it back via the mail. To be honest, a lot of people in Mount Vernon are opting for the mail. That has been the way the census has collected responses the longest of times. The 2020 census is the first time we have an internet option, and the first time they've rolled out the phone as a real option for all of the country. And so what that let me know early on is our numbers are going to go up late, if they go up at all, because people are sitting around waiting for the paper form, which is fine. That's a way to do it. But another thing you have to keep in mind is our self-response rates in the city of Mount Vernon in 2010 was only 56.1%, right? So left to our own devices without someone coming to knock on our door, we were only self-responding with only a form option at 56.1%. So what that means is that 100% of Mount Vernon shows up, right? They show up at City Hall. Everybody who lives there, they all want housing. They all want a good education for their kids. They all want a hospital that works. They all want food. They all want a good job. They all want reliable transportation. be it the roads that they have to drive on with their cars, or be that a good public transportation system. Everybody who shows up wants this, but we're only prepared for 56.1% of them. And the 56.1% that we're prepared for are really only living in Fleetwood and northern Mount Vernon, some on the east side. So we can look at the maps right now and see where the responses are the lowest, and they're in the south side and the west side. So we definitely need to have a stronger connection and commitment to many of our brothers and sisters in that city that do not speak English as a first language. We know there's a high proportion of people in mixed status homes around immigration. So maybe someone in your home is undocumented, or you yourself are undocumented, and you feel like, I'm not going to respond to this thing because I don't want to mess up the workaround situation I've got going for myself. So if you fall in that category, or you're in a neighborhood where you know that's the reality for your neighborhood, I want to just say this because it's a fact, right? Is that the United States Census data is confidential and private, and it is as such based on a US code. It's a law. It's called Title 13. And what it means is, if anyone at the Census Bureau, including the enumerator who will come to your door and take your response if they don't hear from you, they will face a $250,000 fine and felony charges, not either or. They will face both. And your data cannot be released to any federal
So the bag
or
was
agency. Go ahead, AJ.
No, that was Dr. Bob. He's signing in, our other co-host. I just muted him. In the background, I think he's talking to somebody in the house.
All right, cool. Thanks for letting me know. So your data cannot be shared with anybody. And when people say, oh, but
can I add one thing? My sister has been doing the ancestry.com, and your census we can't pull up any census until 70 years. So I'm able to pull up like my parents when they appeared on the census. But since me and my sister are not 70 or 72, we cannot pull up when we first appeared on the census. So I do know that to be true, because we are working with the whole ancestry thing, and you can't get any census.
Exactly.
Right. So just for that, that's the public can't even get your information. I don't know if that makes someone else feel at ease. And I wanted to say one more thing too, with the mail-in thing and whatever's going on with the U.S. Post Office and Donald Trump. I personally encourage people to take the first two options, to do it online and to do it over the phone, so that you know it counts. And since we only have 38 days left, let's not leave it to the postal service and whatever slowdown we had, and your census does not get there in time. Let's not even leave that up to anything. Let's call and let's go online as first and second. I just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, you still can do it. If they want to do the mail thing, do the mail thing, but you're left to the devices of whatever's going on with the post office and Trump. So I just want to put that out there. Did we lose Maria?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, Dr. Bob is on.
Still with you. Okay. I don't know.
There you go.
Let me ask you a question. What percentage of the folks in Mount Vernon have filled it out thus far?
51.7.
Yeah.
51.7. Yonkers is at 57.1, and then Peekskill is at 59.7. Those are the lowest three census tracts in Westchester County, are Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and Peekskill.
And we may or may not have reached out to Peekskill. There's a possibility later in the show somebody from Peekskill will come on. I'm working that out still, so we may or may not have someone from Peekskill coming on. And I failed to, while I welcome my co-host, Dr. Bob, I failed to mention that my co-host, Lorraine Lopez, is involved in the Census Complete Count Committee in Yonkers. So I want to give her props for that. So.
And give me props. Well, I oversaw the census count 10 years ago in the city of Yonkers as well. But that's when I worked for the city. I was in charge myself, and planning and development were in charge of the census. We fell short a little bit.
So
There's just one more, AJ, if you can hear, let me
yeah,
know if y'all hear me. It's Maria. I
we
think
hear
it's
you.
better without my camera, so I'll try it that way.
Okay, yeah, because I was
Um,
watching you drive through the city and I can see the.
yeah, it's too much. Every once in a while, I have to get out of the crowded city, and it's too much. So, um, I will say specifically for Mount Vernon, one of the things that I love about Mount Vernon, having grown up there, being at my hometown, is that Mount Vernon is diverse, racially, ethnically, culturally. Specifically, the data is there. Mount Vernon's Black, right? Like Mount Vernon's the largest predominantly Black city in New York State, to tell you the truth. And we have been for a long time a strong democratic hold. I don't want to make this super political because this is people over politics, but I do want to say that like there is a systemic effort from the top of our country to just disappear people. And some of those people include Black people. Some of those people include Black people who tend to vote progressive, right? To just starve us out, to make sure we're not getting our fair share, to make sure we're not getting our due. And this isn't just 2020. And Tamara is speaking facts when she says coronavirus has complicated and challenged the census. The 2020 count has been challenged for years. The director of the Census Bureau, the old one, John Thompson, he left in 2016, 27. He rolled out in the middle of the year, and the Census Bureau was without leadership for so long. Its budget was stalled. They weren't clear on how they were going to handle operations. And if you are honest with people who are working in the Bureau, who are good people, they had many issues even doing the hiring. So what this coronavirus pandemic revealed is that you weren't doing this in a way that was designed to hit the people who really needed to be counted, because you constantly undercount renters, you undercount young children under 5. This is something the census does poorly every 10 years. You don't get people who live in multi-unit residences. You don't get kids under 5. You don't get people of color. And instead of designing a system that would target those people, the census did what it always does, which is be designed to be in favor of, land owning, home owning, affluent white families. Because while a city like Mount Vernon is undercounted, cities around us like Ardsley, Bronxville, Croton-on-Hudson, they're overcounted. And so it's not like our resources, our millions of dollars are just sitting in a pot for us to pull when we need it. Those dollars get allocated out to people who got their numbers up. We don't just miss out, we lose it. It's use or lose. It's like your PTO at the end of the year. If you're blessed to have it, you just lose it. And that's why the count is so important. We're looking at how people are making legislation around release for CARES Act. There's legislation sitting there. If your city dollars,
we're losing you a little bit.
Convince me about
We're losing you a little bit. You sound like R2D2.
Oh, so I'll wrap it up then, because I don't want the technical issues to be a distraction. But what I'm saying is, when we look at Mount Vernon, when we look at the use of resources, when we look at who's in need, we have to set up as a city a way to connect with each other that aligns with and supports the state effort, but that doesn't necessarily follow the state design. We're going to have to find a way to safely, in a pandemic, help each other get the word out. It can't only be posting on social media. You got to call people with an intention to say, I'll sit on the phone with you while you fill it out. You got to show up for someone safely with a mask and keep your distance and say, I'll help you finish this out, because it's not designed for us to prosper. But you just got to be committed to completing the form. And for me, a huge success would be Mount Vernon at 70% in September. It's a tall order. It is going to be hard because we haven't been 70% for years. But if we can get to 70, we're going to be in such better shape than if we continue trending on the track we're on. We are not going to come out this pandemic well. We're just not. We don't know how long it will go on. The census affects redistricting. So the people you're hype about having elected in the primary, there's no guarantee you're going to be in the same congressional district in 2023. So your best bet is to at least have the resources you need, even if you don't get the representation you want. So we really got to commit to helping each other out, because there's no other way. The only way to come out of this is together. And we have to just be committed to being out there safely with each other, helping each other fill this out. Let somebody use your phone, get a tablet, help somebody walk through the form, call the elders in your family, make sure everyone in that residence is counted. And I'll leave it there.
I want to ask the question real quick. Reverend Morton told me when I was at City Hall the other day giving out the newspaper, our 3-year anniversary issue was out. It's the Southeast area, which is actually, I live on South 7th Avenue, which is where I live. That is specifically the lowest response in the city. Are y'all working as the Complete Count Committee to tackle that area, to encourage more, reach out to the people, go to their houses, knock on doors? Janelle O'Britton said somebody came by her house yesterday, but she's on the north side. Are there going to be more people coming out to this area, to hit this area that where we need it the most?
We actually, in the housing subcommittee, we actually put door hangers on every door we could access in track 35, which is our lowest response track in Mount Vernon. Every single door we could, maybe back in May, we did door hanging in track number 35, somewhere between May and June. So, and that's about 1,500 residences over there. We did not have the manpower to do the entire city, but part of what we're discovering is that some people, they need a little help. You know what I'm saying? Even though there's a phone number on there, some people, times are tough. They don't have broadband. They may have had their cell phone service cut off because, people don't lost their jobs, etc. So a lot of people who are really struggling. Some people, they feel uncomfortable with the language. Some people aren't clear that even if they're non-citizens, that they should get counted. So it's just been really, really tough trying to get the word out, but we're doing everything we can, trying to hit the food distributions, trying to hit local events. Now that people are coming out a little bit more. So we've definitely been working on it.
Are the census trackers actually at the food events? Because in Yonkers, we bring about 3 or 4 of them to the food pantries, and we do events in certain locations. Like, for example, yesterday we brought out 4 food trucks. We brought out a DJ in an undocumented and the poorest area of Yonkers, and it was very successful. Or are there any events happening like that folks can go to and they can ask the questions and they can have someone help them fill them out? Do you have anything coming up like that you can tell the people?
Great question. So this week we were hitting a couple of different food distributions in Mount Vernon. We're doing an event at Leicester Towers on Wednesday evening. We're having a little bit of a census party from 6 to 8 at Leicester Towers. On Thursday, we'll have a table at the last Summer Breeze concert that we're having this year. That starts at 6:30. And then on Saturday in Hartley Park, from 2 to 6, it's Recreation Day, and there's a book bag giveaway. And we will definitely be there in strength on Saturday because we expect a lot of families to come out, and we'll have entertainment and refreshments and everything, and we will do everything we can to try to get as many of our neighbors counted as we can that come out.
Will there be any door knocking in the southeast area where I live? Will there be any actual door knocking?
Well, the enumerators are out, and they're out doing their job, and I'm not sure exactly how they're assigned, but I can't imagine that they're not going to be hitting the lowest count districts, because that's where there are more doors that need to be knocked on.
Right.
So the enumerators, they're out there. The census committee is doing our part, and then sometimes as we're able to, we're actually getting help from the Census Bureau's mobile team, as well as some of the county's Census Committee people to come out and help us at events, particularly where we might need some translation and some language support. So we're out there. We're trying to hit the street hard every single day over the next 38 days.
So for those
Yeah,
people, for those people who have already filled out their census, but still want to get more involved, what can they do? Can they volunteer? What can they do to help?
Absolutely. Our committee definitely could use some more help with tabling at events. I know it's a little late, but we finally have a coordinator. Our census coordinator's name is Yalitza Furchi. And Yalitza's phone number, I have Yalitza's phone number here somewhere. She would be the person to get in touch with. Yalitza is 914-403-1959. And again, that's Yalitza. I know I could spell it for you, Yelitza. Her number is 914-403-1959. She's our coordinator, and she would absolutely love some help. I think where we're having more challenges are when we're trying to hit the food distributions during the daytime on weekdays, because a lot of us on the committee, when we're volunteering, we got daytime jobs, and we can't be there for some of those events. We can do more of the evening ones and the weekend ones, but we really could use some help. But some of the food distributions, as Lorraine pointed out, are some of the most fruitful places to try to catch people.
And I also wanted to highlight, you said something earlier, if you filled out your census, check with your neighbors, check with your family members, even if you have to let them use your phone or your tablet, because they don't have access to that stuff right now because of COVID or whatever. Those are things that people can do to help
each other. Sure.
Right. Make sure the people on your block. Like if everybody checked the people on their block, you won't have to go nowhere else. If everybody checked their block and check their block alone, you won't have to reach out nowhere else, because you know everybody on your block, and the next person knows everybody on their block, and the next person. So let's start that. Everybody check with the people on your block and see if they filled out the census.
Even if it's just the people on your floor or just your building.
If you're in the building, yes, your floor.
You don't need any permission to go check in on your neighbors in a pandemic. Like, hey, y'all all right? You filled out the census? Because let me tell you what the enumerators are going to do. There's something called imputation. This is a technical how the Census Bureau gets information. So if we all live in the same block, me, Lorraine, Tamara, AJ, Dr. Bob, we all live on the same block, and I am the only person who responded to the census, and the census taker comes and knocks on all your doors, and none of you answer for whatever reason. You don't feel like it. You don't like people in your house. You're not home, whatever. The Census Bureau is going to knock on my door and be like, hey, we know you already filled yours out, but we don't see anything from your neighbors. So help us figure out about how many people live next door, about how many people live below you. And that's just an inaccurate way of getting information. I don't know for sure if I know everybody in your house. I don't know if your grandchild's living with you and needs to be counted. I don't know if everybody in your house self-identifies as Black or Hispanic or whatever. So you got to do it for yourself. So check on your people. Give them the numbers. Tamara said it before, the 330-2020, and in Spanish, 468-2020. I think the area code is 844 on both of those. Go to my2020census.gov. Help the people out, because what's going to happen is we're all going to... America is a group project, y'all. I don't care what they told you in 4th grade about rugged individualism. This is a group project. We will fail together. Mount Vernon, we are currently failing. If you get 51.7% on the test, did you pass? You did not. So we got to do this together. That's what you can do if you already filled it out. Definitely call Yalitza and see if you could be at an event. I want to give a quick shout out to the good people at Greater Centennial AME. They do an amazing food distribution every Tuesday morning. It's amazing. Their social justice ministry, Louis, Fallon, Miss Joanne. It's an amazing Ministry. They will be having food distribution Tuesday at 9. You line up at 9 and it starts a little after that at like 10 o'clock. It's a lot of people. I was there 2 weeks ago talking about census with people. They fed 425 families. If we could get more people, again, like Tamara was saying, those daytime events. I have a daytime job too, but I move my hours around because I'm really just trying to hit people where they are. And it would be great to have some more support, especially in other languages. I do not speak Spanish fluently. It would be awesome to have other people out there, because if you can catch people while they're online waiting and just fill it out right there, it only takes like 6 minutes. We could do a whole line if we had more people. So I think that's one thing people can do is show up and volunteer in your community, because this is a group project.
Cheryl Blue Brownlee Fox just posted the number of the the coordinator that you mentioned, Tamara. So
yes.
it's in the comment section right now under the video as people are watching on Facebook. So she just posted it, and she also posted the 844 number and the hours and all that stuff and the website. She's just posted that in the comment section as we're, so anybody watching on Facebook on my page, this is below. We're going to switch to Yonkers, but is there anything I didn't ask you? Is there anything else we want to get out to the people of Mount Vernon? Is there anything else that you can, any other information? And again, I ask you, please email me all numbers, links, and all that kind of stuff. So when I post this on Black Westchester, all that stuff will be up under there. So people won't have to look for it. It'll be right there for them.
There you go. I just wanted to make sure that people when we start talking about these numbers, I know a lot of people are like, really? Is it that serious? So the number that the Westchester County uses is $2,500 per person in federal funding, roughly that amount per person in Westchester County every year for the next 10 years for every person that gets counted. So what we're saying is that every 400 people in your community, they get counted, that represents $1 million more federal funding for your community for all the things that are important to you, all the things that you want for your community, all the things, all the services that you feel you deserve and that, you pay your tax dollars for. For instance, in Mount Vernon, if we could actually get our count up to 90,000 people, which is a little bit different than the number of households, but if we actually ended up with a person count, by the time they, break the households down into people, and we actually got 90,000 in 2020, because in 2010, our official count was it 60, like about 60, just under 63,000 people.
Wait. Can I give you another very disgusting? In 1960, it was 68,000.
All right, so we've lost numbers since then. Okay, we've lost numbers, but it doesn't look like that when you're walking down 4th Avenue, okay?
Absolutely not. I believe there's 100,000 people or more here, so yeah.
Okay, and that is the estimate, is about 100,000, but even if we got an official count up to 90,000, the amount of money that we're paying, that our city budget is for this year, for 2020, would actually be double in terms of federal dollars. There would be no excuse for them to raise property taxes on homeowners in Mount Vernon for the next decade if we actually were able to get 90,000 people in this city to get counted. That's how serious the census is.
We're leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table. And in no other situation do you leave millions or billions of dollars on the table. Dr. Bob, I know you haven't had a chance to speak. Do you want to say anything while we're still on the topic of Mount Vernon before we leave, or anything you wanted to add or ask our Mount Vernon committee?
So firstly, let me extend a hearty but belated welcome to both you, Lorraine, and a special guest from the Complete Count Committee. I was in the midst of a belated celebration for my mother's birthday. And one of the things that I'm happy to report is that a census taker actually came by the house today. My mother lives in the vicinity of Mount Vernon West, which would be
Yay!
one of those areas that have traditionally had a high undercount
Mm.
of the residents. And so I'm heartened to see that enumerators are out in our area trying to actively collect extra data. Now, one thing I do want to add, just a little anecdote from my mom's household situation, that she had completed the census count online, but she received a couple of follow-up notices inquiring about residences in the rest of the household, and there are no residents here. At least no one occupies any other apartments in our house. And I wanted everyone to know that the census may be persistent in trying to make sure, and because previous records indicate that there was another resident here. So my mother, it sort of made my mother scratch her head. It was left her a bit perplexed, and raised questions about the integrity, accuracy, the motivation behind the persistence. So it could be that the Census Bureau is trying to square previous records with the report that may have been made by someone. And I do want everyone to be, I don't think it's a reason to worry that there's something underhanded or untoward going on. It's part of having a complete count. So that's number one.
Okay, go ahead. And then after that, I have a Facebook comment for Tamara.
Yeah, and then I was just gonna say, AJ and Lorraine, who I work with all the time and share, various research projects that I'm involved with, knows that I make, considerable use of census data for the stuff that I'm working on. And to the issue of confidentiality, I want everyone to know that in my experience, it's near to impossible data about individuals before the sunset, this 70 year period. Census reports their data at the aggregate level, and which is as a group, right? And so when the Census Bureau is collecting and compiling the data, the point is to try to tell how many people on a particular area, whether it's a census tract, a census block, or in our case, as we're talking about, a municipality. But that's another one of the safeguards that the census has instituted in order to try to make sure that confidential information is not shared with anyone who's not authorized to have it. And so I'd urge everyone to try to complete the census count. Let me finally say, everyone, that look, one of the questions that always plagues communities of color is what we can do to bring about the improvement of our life circumstances and our social well-being in the face of opposition of hostile forces. And although I understand that many people are suspicious as to why the Census Bureau will conduct a count, I want to assure everyone that it is done for legitimate reasons, and it is participating in the census is one of the things that we can readily do to empower our community and to make sure that we are entitled to all of the state, federal resources that we need in order to meet the needs of our people. When we decide not to participate in the census, what we are effectively doing is abandoning the other members of our community who especially may be more needful, and we're only further aggravating and compounding the crisis that continuously plagues our community. And therefore, if you want to find one way to address this crisis of underinvestment in our communities, we can do our best to make sure we have accurate census count in order to try to bring about an improvement of these circumstances. And so for those reasons, I think everyone should participate, and I know I have.
Okay, with that, we're switching to Yonkers, but before I do, Tamara, HB Davis said, thank you, Tamara, for helping the neighbors of Census Tract 151 get lawn signs posted to remind everyone in the area to get counted. You are our warrior queen. Any last words briefly as I switch over to Yonkers?
Well, I want to just thank you again for giving us this opportunity to sound the alarm If we all just, reach out to folks. Now, one of the things that is going on, and we're not sure how it's going to wind up, is that the Census Bureau is being sued. And there are groups that are trying to get the date changed back to October 31st. And of course, we're hoping that happens, but we can't count on that. So we just got to do the best we can in these next 38 days. But I guarantee you, if each one reaches one, we can get it done. We can absolutely get this done.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tamara and Maria. Please email me that information. And I'll continue working with y'all over these 38 days to do anything Black Westchester can do.
Thanks, AJ.
All right. Hold on. Now we're switching over. Switching over. Goodbye, Maria. And we're welcoming our Yonkers people. So just for everybody who's tuned in, this is Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show, episode 272. This is our census show. The reason for Black Westchester pulling out the census is because I think I closed Lorraine. I think I lost Lorraine. Lorraine, please re-sign in. I think I lost Lorraine. The reason we're doing this is because we have 38 days left. 38 days from today. It was October and now it's September. And as the Mount Vernon Complete Committee count said, yes, hold on, I'm telling Lorraine, by mistake, please re-sign in. I accidentally, when I was signing off the Mount Vernon people, I signed Lorraine off as well. So I'm telling her to please sign back in. So it was very important. And as we heard, the numbers for Yonkers and Mount Vernon are both under 60%, under 55% for that matter. So we definitely wanted to reach out to the complete count committees and allow you all to talk. Lorraine was supposed to be here to introduce you. I do know Carmen, and I am not familiar with the other young lady, and I'm doing a very bad job. So I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself till Lorraine gets back.
Hi, I'm Melissa Velez-Goldberg. How are you? I'm, I guess, representing Yonkers and the Complete Count Committee for Yonkers.
Okay. And Carmen.
Hi, I'm Carmen Goldberg, and I'm part of the committee. And we're launching a very serious campaign in our school and the surrounding areas for the next 30 days. So we're going to be right there making those payments, making sure people sign up for the census. It's very important.
Okay. I'm new to this whole switching from guest to guest thing. So I signed off Lorraine and we're having a problem getting her back on. So I'm working on that. While I'm doing that, can y'all just explain the importance? I want y'all to reach out to the people in Yonkers right now and tell them the importance of signing in. We've mentioned a lot of this stuff already, and I want to bang it home again for the people in Yonkers. I want them to hear you, that they know, talk about why they need to do this. And
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So as you mentioned some numbers before, Yonkers, our numbers are actually, our self-response rate is actually at 57.2%, which it's slowly creeping up. Our 2010 numbers were just a tad bit over 64%. So that's our goal, to reach 64% at a minimum. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, which hit Yonkers specifically very hard, and specifically the area codes of 10701 and 10705, which are previously to the pandemic, were one of the most undercounted areas. Now with the pandemic, it's even a bigger struggle. So we've been out there now on the ground, that we've been able to just reaching out to people, kind of just old school, and randomly going up to people, hosting events, just trying to get the word out, and letting people know the importance of what census is and how important they are to be counted. Many people, just as in voting, don't feel that they count, or that it doesn't matter if they're counted, and it matters very, very much, specifically within the communities that they're living in. Their services, their programs, their schools, hospitals, all of that is affected if they're not counted. So that's what we're trying to get out. That's the word, that's the message. And we're hoping that slowly but surely we meet at least the numbers from 2010 by September 30th, which is the new deadline.
Carmen, can you hear me, Carmen?
I could hear you now.
Oh, okay.
I'm sad that Lorraine is not here, because Lorraine has been playing a very important role in the census since 2010. When back in 2010, we actually worked together towards the census. She's been so helpful now to us. She's a voice that everybody trusts and everybody likes to hear. Okay, we need more people in the community, because sometimes the people lose trust in government and they don't understand what the census is. So basically, we need those voices out there to go out in the community and call up your friend, call up your cousins, call up people that you know, and ask them that they participate in the census. Lead them to Catholic charities to be part of, so they could be enrolled. Lead them to the YMCA. Lead them to the charter school. Wherever there is a spot where, okay, we need to lead the people towards it. So that's going to be my job within the next 30 days, just to make sure that the people are counted.
Sorry about that. I have an issue at the house, and got a phone call, so I'm dealing with that as well. But one of the things we said, hold on, Tim. One of the things we were saying that we leave millions of dollars on the table when we don't fill out the census, and people don't understand that one of the best things they can do for the future of their community is fill out the census for the future of. So can y'all speak a little bit on that? And I'm going to mute myself real quick.
Sure. So what people don't understand, or what we're trying to inform people and make people aware of, is the way the funding is I guess dispersed is they invest in services where it's needed. So for example, when there's a higher count, the funding will now be redirected to that particular community. And if there's roadways that need fixing, if there's new transportation that needs, or increased in transportation that needs to be a part of that community, or more schools that need to be a part of the community, that's where the funding makes the impact. That's where it hits home and the communities. And that's what we're trying to relate to people and how it directly affects them. So we had an event yesterday within the area and the district that has one of the lowest within Yonkers. And we had a really, really great success. Unofficially, the numbers were about 100 households. So in Yonkers, I didn't do the numbers, but through the Census Bureau, the way they've worked it out, it's that for every household, it's assumed that there are about 3 people. So to sign up 100 households counts for about 300 people that were counted just yesterday at our 2-hour event. So those are some of the things that we're going to be doing in the next 30 days to just get the word out, be out in the community. And as Carmen mentioned before, it's that trusted voice within the community. It's your pastor, it's the your community advocate that you are going to lean on, or that really has to now communicate that message and gain that trust from the people, and have them fill out the census and explain to them that this impacts you and this is important.
Especially in the minorities community, the funding is so important, because it affects more our community, our children, our schools, our hospitals, all of that. And I think the message is to bring in more of those trusted voices, so they could be heard and understand that it's so important to to fill out the census form without any retribution at all. It only takes
can I,
a second to fill out that form.
can I interrupt you real quick? So,
Sure.
so everybody watching, just so you know, when I went to remove, I'm new to the whole removing thing. When I removed the two Mount Vernon people, I actually removed Lorraine by mistake. And when you remove the person, they can't sign back in. But there's supposed to be something I can do in the administrative settings. So I need y'all to keep talking. And Dr. Bob, if you can hear me,
Yes.
I need you to tune in so I can handle this administratively.
Yes. So I'll just pick up, AJ.
All right, and you got to
Yeah.
put your camera
So-
on.
Okay, put my camera on. Okay, Lord have mercy.
Hi, Dr. Bob.
See, I'm not the best at this.
It's
Yeah,
soon.
y'all learn.
I'm here, but I'm
Hold
working out
on.
the administrative thing that I got to click on. Something I got to click on. So hold on.
And let me
Lorraine back. Go ahead.
second. And so as I attempt to turn my camera on, one of the things I think that it's helpful to put things in perspective for us is the pattern in reportage of accurate census numbers in the past. So one of the things that proponents of full census participation focus on is undercounting. And I'm curious to know what has been the undercount in the city of Yonkers in past censuses, if you know, and you know how that compares to, let us say, like a city like Mount Vernon. One of the things that Mount Vernon residents often scratch their heads about in puzzlement is, why is it that our adjoining sister cities seem to be in the midst of an economic redevelopment that often seems to have passed Mount Vernon by? And I wonder what extent it has to do with the undercounting of Mount Vernon residents on the census. Any insights?
So while I can't speak to Mount Vernon, and I unfortunately I was not a part of the 2010 census, but just kind of working on it now. Hi, we see you now. But working
Hello,
on
hi.
hi.
Not the best lighting, but
So good. Working I'm hoping I understand your question correctly. And what I think you're asking is, how do we know how we're unresponsive, the areas that are unresponsive, and possibly how that affects what redevelopment is taking place?
sure.
Okay, so as I believe maybe I mentioned it before. So when we have an accurate count, it helps disperse the funding. So for example, if we know an area code 10701 has 15% of a greater population that area code 10705, when the funding is being reviewed, they're going to look into investing a bit more into area code 10701 just because the population is greater there. And they're going to look at the needs of that particular community. So if there's a need for more transportation, if there's a need for repairs in roadways, if there's a need for more schooling, that's how I guess it's looked at overall. Unfortunately, the higher level of exactly why and how and when it actually is done, I don't know. I don't know that information, but just generally speaking, that's how it's done, and that's how it's looked at. So, which is again now going back to why it's so important for every living person to be counted, and ensuring that they're counted for their community that they're in, so they can, I guess, benefit from all of the different programs and services that there are to offer.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
And so with respect to Yonkers, what percentage of people have been undercounted in previous censuses, like the 2010, 2020 census? And what kind of impact did that have on Yonkers' overall social economic well-being?
So the numbers for 2010 were just a tad bit over 64%. Right now in Yonkers, we are at 57.2%. So our goal is to, at the minimum, get up to 64%. From 2010, I don't know. Again, I wasn't a part of 2010 census, but maybe Carmen, you can chime in. I know you and Lorraine were very active in the 2010 census.
Yes, we were very active in the 2010 census. And one of the reasons we were very aggressive is because back then people really didn't trust the government at all. They didn't even want to sign anything. So we set out to go into every community every single day, okay, and talk to them, talk to the churches, talk to when the masses were on, talk when the services were on, go to the Nepahan Community Center, go over to the Mexican organization, the Mexican Chamber, ask every organization to come out and help us. And every day we will be with a group of leaders in that community that people knew and people understood who they were and signed them up for the census. We still fell short because the amount, 60-something% is not enough, okay? And this is why a lot of the services, like for instance, like you mentioned 10701, saying, and Dr. Bob mentioned Mount Vernon. Well, hospitals are very important in our community. Well, in 10701, we have St. Joseph, and 10703, we have St. John. So St. John's community was, all the community, they were a little bit higher than 10701. Okay, 10701 had a lot of immigrant community who didn't trust the census. They did not know how to count the abuelita. They did not know how to count the child. They only counted themselves. That's a mistake. Everybody needs to be counted. And I don't see why, okay, it's so hard to make them understand that. But we need to make sure that everybody comes out and count, because it affects our hospitals, our school, and services that our minority community need. Okay, and basically in some of those areas you see less services, but they need more services. So this is why we're asking the community to come out, but we're also asking all the leaders to come out and call on each and every one and make sure, okay, that they are counted, because they're the trusted voice, the voice that they trust, not just government.
Okay, real quick. So I believe that I've fixed the setting, and Lorraine should be joining us back again real quick. There's a setting when you remove somebody,
Yes,
it prevents you from coming back in. And I had to go to settings and allow a removed person to come back in. And now she just has to sign back in. So hopefully that's going to happen. And okay, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. So
I have another question, AJ, before you.
Yes.
So I'm curious. I know that the Census Bureau and the local complete count committees had in place a more conventional plan for doing outreach to ensure that we had the increase in the number of participants in the census. And because the COVID-19 virus and the need for social distancing has really upended almost all our institutions, I'm curious to know, and this may have been addressed before because I did come in late, so forgive me if I'm being repetitious. I'm curious to know what kind of new innovative approaches
sure. That's
complete,
actually
count committees and the census illuminators are adopting. Yes, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good question, because we had a whole plan. It was in stages that we were rolling them out. And one of our last and final pushes were to be out on the ground, actually talking to people, being the trusted voices within the community. And when COVID happened, that was no longer able to happen. So what we did, because we still had to get the word out and because it's important, this is something that's going to affect you for the next 10 years. So while hopefully COVID is just here very temporarily, the next 10 years, we'd have to deal with this. So what we did was we started to partner with a lot of the different food banks, and because that was still going, because that's still a need. And we partnered with the Board of Education with their grab and go for all of their students, which they have, I think, just a little bit over 27,000 students within the Yonkers school system. So we had flyers that we provided all of the pantries and the BOE to provide with each meal. So we did that for a few weeks, and that was pretty much the only way at that time that we were able to continue the message. and still make it top of mind. And as soon as we were able to interact just a little bit, we were able to connect again with the Census Bureau and then have census takers at these food distribution sites and be there while people were waiting online and signing people up. And we did that for a little bit. And now we're kind of just out on the street, and we're trying to put together, of course, with social distancing, we're doing events and just a few other things until September 30th to just increase our numbers.
I know that the sudden decision on the part of the Trump administration to prematurely end the census really caught many of us unawares and sort of flat-footed because it now has reduced the precious time even further. I'm curious, given the fact that social media has played an increasingly important role in the lives of Americans during the COVID epidemic, whether or not the complete count committees have considered using social media, and specifically like their micro-targeting approach, ads that specifically allow you, I've never done it myself, and I know AJ knows more about this, this is his bailiwick, but apparently a lot of the social media companies have features that allow advertisers and public service announcements to go to fine-tuned micro targets. And I wonder, I hear it could be cheap. I just don't know. It's all speculative, but I'm curious to know if y'all have considered how social media might be used to increase the participation rate.
So we have definitely been using social media since the very beginning, and just promoting census, providing people with the information on how you can fill it out, where you can go, how you still have the option to fill out online or by phone, no longer by mail, but beforehand by mail. And we continue to push that out. But what we learned through that is, while that's still a great tool, and we will still continue that, because you can, even if it's 1, 2, 3, a dozen people that you reach, that's still people counted. But what we learned through the process is that the community that's not being counted is not the community that may have access to technology as readily as maybe others. They may not have access to Facebook, or understand or know how to use the tools on, for social media, or just quite frankly have the literacy, be able to read and understand. So it goes back to the grassroots of on the ground and literally, talking to people. And that was our last phase when we planned for it. And with COVID, it pushed everything back. So when we were extended to October 31st, it was great. As soon as we were able to, when the census takers were able to go back out, we hit the ground running. And then, we kind of were hit again with now the date being pushed up to September 30th, which again, it's not working to our advantage, but we're doing everything possible. So yes, social media does play a key role, but again, there are many people, and specifically those that are unresponsive, that just may not have the access to technology or be able to read and write and be able to read the messaging that is put out on social media.
Right.
Yes, and one of the things that we learned from COVID-19 and the shutting down of the schools was that Yonkers did have a digital divide. In some communities, there was no Wi-Fi. They did not have access to technology. And we learned that it was all over the newspapers, and Lorraine and Tasha Diaz were going around trying to help some of the students get the technology that they needed and the Wi-Fi. So I understand when Melissa talks about some of the community not being able to have access to social media, anything, is because they simply don't have the technology. Their phone don't even accept text messages, as we saw with the COVID-19 when we used the one call for the parents. They had phones, they had cell phones, but they did not have the access to the text messaging. So So COVID-19 actually brought up another set of situations that are really plaguing our minorities community inside the city of Yonkers. And hopefully we're going to get to the bottom of this and try to help. But the best way of getting now the push for the census will be grassroots.
Okay, right. I seem to recall reading in some of the advertisement that the Census Bureau was putting out before the onset of COVID, that as they went to an online collection approach, one of the ways they would seek to ensure you had participation from some of the excluded groups, mainly because of lack of access to technology, was through public institutions like libraries and other
Right.
community organizations who would make available their computer terminals for people to fill out the census online. It seems obvious that I know the libraries have been shut down for a
Yes.
significant amount of time. And now that New York State is starting to reopen, are there any plans on the part of the Yonkers Public Library, which has many branches and significant amount of computer terminals and web-based connections, to kind of do maybe some sort of limited opening for the express purpose of allowing those individuals who don't have a computer at home to perhaps come in and complete the census online?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Places like the library were such key resources for people, and they really pulled in those final numbers of for people that didn't have access to technology or just needed the guidance. And we've partnered with, the library has been so great, and we've partnered with them with Census, and they have been with us in trying to get the word out. So yes, as they are slowly opening up and rolling out, they do have a plan in place with social distancing, of course, to be able to allow people to come and fill out their census. They've actually trained, they've had most of their staff trained to be census takers, which is so important, just because although it's great if I can help you fill out your census, but I'm technically not supposed to unless I'm a certified census taker. So, the library has gone over and beyond in ensuring that a lot of their staff are trained and are certified to be census takers to help the public when they come in and filling out the census. So yes, to your question, yes, the library does have or is planning on having a plan in place to still help people when they come in and filling out their census.
And
okay, I just want to say, Lorraine has given up trying to sign in, unfortunately. I think I got the settings straight. I just want to apologize again, because she is definitely very important to this part of the conversation, because she worked on the census before and we needed her for this.
Absolutely.
But she gave up. She said she's not trying to sign back in anymore. So she's done trying, but she's in the comment section. And hopefully if she has a question or whatever, she will write it out, read it out. So go ahead, Bob.
yeah, so I was gonna, another question that I had, how can people obtain the lawn signs that are being displayed? I happen to live in the neighborhood of Assistant County Executive Ken Jenkins, and I'm pretty sure when I drive past his house daily, I see his lawn sign urging people to participate in the census prominently displayed. And I said to myself, wow, that's an easy thing I might be able to do. But I don't know where to pick those signs up. Are there any more signs available, and how would people get them if they were inclined?
The county was the one that actually distributed those. And I'm not sure exactly how they distribute it. I'm assuming that it's if you had specific areas where there was high traffic and areas that were one of the unresponsive areas. If you had that address to send to them, they would have gone out and put out a lawn sign. I don't know if there's any more left, but I know the county was the one that did that. Westchester County.
Okay. AJ, do you have a question?
No. I think y'all are handling it pretty good. I'm still a little distraught that I kicked
Aw.
Lorraine out a little bit. She was important. I don't want her to think it was personal or nothing. It just it kind of sucks. I actually
Yeah.
tried to reset everything that you can reset that it said to reset, and she said it still won't allow her to come back in. So and
Aw.
I greatly apologize, and I missed the studio. And the studio,
Yes,
you just leave and new people come in. You ain't got to remove nobody. It's like, I miss the studio right now. This is one of those COVID things we're all going through. Like, this is the new normal, and I got to learn all of this. And,
Yeah.
people understand to actually host it, and then I'm doing the social media, and then I'm answering people on, I'm doing like 10 different things at the same time. So it can be a challenge sometimes. And every now and then you make a mistake, and this was a mistake that I made. That it's just, I feel it took a little bit from Michelle because she was involved in the 2010, and she had so much information to offer this conversation, and we lost that. So again, I apologize to everyone, especially Lorraine. It was my fault that she's no longer here right now. So. She is tuned in and can hear you. So anybody wants to say anything to her or mention her or ask her a question, she can hear you and then type the answer back in, hopefully. So I just wanted to get that out. So anyway.
well, we
I've been going
mentioned you,
through that.
Lorraine.
I had to actually Google. I actually had to Google how do you let somebody back in, and then it told you to go to the settings. I found the settings. I clicked on it. I reset it, and she said it's still not working. So we're going to move on. The show must go on, and unfortunately, anyway. So the reason we did this again, I just want to reiterate: this is we have 38 days left. Trump cut off a month of it. We're in a major pandemic. Everything is challenging. And I said this when the Mount Vernon people were on, well, there's 3 ways to do it. And that is by phone and by online and by mail-in.
No more mail-in.
There's an attack on our mail system right now for the voting, and you have 38 days. So we have no guarantee that your census thing will get in by the date that it's supposed to get in by. And then you still won't be counted. So you want to be sure to be counted. My advice is to do it by phone. If you have to use somebody else's phone, get somebody else's phone. Do it online. If you need a relative or a neighbor, you need to use their tablet or computer or laptop or something.
Yeah.
I mean, for something that's important, let's make that happen. And for those of you who have the resources, check on your neighbors and your family members.
Absolutely.
Make sure some of them may need you to help walk through and navigate them through because they're not too tech savvy. We need to do this because we're leaving millions and billions of dollars on the table. And you all complain that you go to City Hall complaining about your roads and about all these things and services you don't have. This is how you can get those services. By not filling out the census, I can guarantee you whatever you complain about, it's going to not be fixed by not filling it out. I can guarantee you that. You know what I'm saying? So, we push our elected officials to do for us. This is what you have to do. This is your responsibility. This is your part in the role that you have to play. And it's 38 days. They're systematically attacking us with the voting system. Now the mail system. This is your responsibility. And for those who have it, need to go out and help those who don't have it. Like I said earlier with the Mount Vernon people, if everybody went on their floor, if you live in a building or their block, you wouldn't even have to go out nowhere else. If everybody just went to their block or the houses around them, if everybody did that who filled out the census, checked on 3 or 4 other people or your block or your building or your floor, we can fill the gap. And we can get to numbers like 90% or something or better, as opposed to this 50-something percent that we have now. You understand what I'm saying? So that means 50% means that half of the resources that are slated for your city are not going to get to your city. That's what that means. I mean, you got to put it in like real terms to people. Like, that's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So there won't be no
Absolutely.
services. There won't be no roads fixed. There won't be nothing that you want. None of this is going to happen by you not filling it out. And I just wanted to really nail that home. And that's why we did this. And when we're finished, this will go on Black Westchester, and under it, I'll have all the links. I'll have all the information. You can just click on it. Information to the census site where you can read for the stuff you want to read yourself. I'm going to put it all there, and we're going to blast this out. And everybody who has an email list, I'm going to send it to you so you can send it out to your email list so we can hit everybody. So anyway, I'm sorry to be on a rant, but that's why we're doing this. This is very important. So.
And can I just interject really quickly?
Absolutely.
Just to continue the message out, the census is confidential. I know there's a lot of fear out there that if you fill this out, ICE is coming after you, or the government is going to know where you're at and come after you. The census is 100% confidential. It's the law. You are protected. So by filling out the census does not mean that someone's going to come and get you and send you back to your country. Again, it's just to help with services that impact you directly in your community.
And I said this earlier on the show when the Mount Vernon committee was here, and I said it before. So I can speak personally. My sister is very big on the ancestry thing. And we can pull up all our family records, and you pull up the census from all these years, but there's a 72-year thing. So my sister and I cannot pull up when we first appear on the census because we're not 72. The best we could do is pull up our parents. Like, so the public can't even get to your information. They cannot see this information in any way, form, or fashion for 72 years. And some of us ain't even gonna be here in 72 years. So you know, I don't know if that makes you feel more at ease or anything, but this is something personally that I did, that I've experienced, and I know to be true. So,
I also want to add that presently the United States finds itself and minority communities of color, find themselves to be targets of disinformation campaigns that are deliberately designed to disenfranchise us to one degree or the other. Whether it's efforts to dissuade us from voting in the upcoming general election in November, or consistent with the plan primarily of the Republican Party, whether it's to try to shift the underlying demographics of the nation to sort of stave off the increased participation and influence of communities of color, precisely because by all measures we are growing. And we should see a greater proportion of electoral power along with financing and all other kinds of governmental benefits. So, you know, I just want to add my voice that to the chorus of voices that have been urging people not to be duped by messages that are deliberately designed to disarm us. This is one of the nonviolent weapons that we do have available to us to try to change the political and social dynamic in our nation. And we need to use all of the weapons, all of the tools that are available to us. And it would be an immense shame if we allowed ourselves to be fooled into thinking that somehow or the other we're going to be victimized by participating in the census and letting people know how many folks are really here. So, you know, just to reiterate what you guys have been saying, echo what you've been saying. Carmen, did you want to add, or?
I agree with you, Dr. Bob. Absolutely. We need to make sure and understand what we're up against, and we need to fight, and we need to fight with the tools that we have, and that is to be counted. That is to be heard. Those are our voices. So let's be heard, let's be counted, and let's work hard at that. We only have a few days left, a month, and we could do this. So I want to be counted. I am counted. So please, let's go out there and be counted. And I want to thank Lorraine for all her effort. I'm sad that she couldn't be here with us because she actually asked me to be here. But I know you're listening to me, and thank you, Lorraine. Thank you.
Right. She
Yes, thank you,
actually called me
Lorraine.
and told me you were her surprise that you might get here because you worked on the one 10 years ago. You were her surprise guest that she was going to pop out on everybody. One of our other co-hosts has joined us, Charlie Stern from Red Blue Talk.
Hey AJ, how's it going?
I'm good. He's very good with numbers, and he likes this kind of stuff. And I invited him earlier. He had just got to me while I was trying to fix the solution with Lorraine, and I was not able to get to that. So I
Yeah.
finally sent the link. So
No, listen, thank you for inviting me. I'm sorry that I didn't connect with your message earlier, and I was busy working on the other aggravating government problem that's facing us all right now, which is absentee voting and how to submit a request for an absentee ballot. I was busy figuring that out, and I didn't see your message.
right. So a lot of things have been said, but I know you always add an extra, an added perspective of things. We're talking about is 38 days left. The
census,
date has
right.
been moved up to September 30th. The count for Mount Vernon is 51, 52, 53% or something like that. The count for
Right.
Yonkers is not much more, is also under 60%. The census for 2010 was 60. They gave us the numbers was 60 for Mount Vernon was under 65,000. And in 1960, by the number I looked up, it was 68,000. So we've actually,
Right.
according to the census, we've lost people, which we all know if you live in Mount Vernon is not the case. It's
No.
got to be over 100,000. And in Yonkers, they've been over 200,000 for the last few, but for some reason, everybody's not filling in and they never can get to that 200,000 number.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're both, and then the other low response city is Peekskill. I was working on getting someone from Peekskill. I wasn't able to make that happen. I wanted them to make the appeal for Peekskill as well.
Well,
Those
so,
lowest cities in so far.
AJ, I think you had a very good idea there, which is like, got to get this information out to people's email lists, like you send to your list and I send to my list and so on and so on and so on. That can make a big difference because you pick up numbers little by little that way. I interviewed a community count person for the area that I live in a few days ago. And she said one of the biggest myths that is pervasive out there is that there's immigration questions. There is, in fact, no immigration question on the census. And now you've already covered that before I joined, and I apologize.
But it needs to be said over and over.
That needs to be said again and again, because I think that's the scariest thing for people on a lot of different levels. It's just not there. So go ahead, and it's a short form. It's you folks who are on here will know better than I, but I think it's 10 questions. It takes you 5 minutes. It'll take you 5 minutes to do. But we got to, get those numbers up because it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's like a simple little thing.
It's millions. It's
Millions of dollars.
Listen like this.
Right.
If so, the count. Tamara corrected me. The count for 2010 was 67,292 for Mount Vernon.
Right.
In 1960, it was 68 something. There's no way we there's no way we lost numbers. So we're grossly undercounted. And to put it in perspective, 50%, let's just say it's 50 something percent. Let's just say 50. 50 is half. So half of what the city of Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and Peekskill are entitled to, they're not going to get because people are not filling out. So you've left half of the funding for your city on the table.
On the table, exactly.
That's going to go to other cities like Bronxville and Scarsdale who filled out so much of theirs. They're going to get your money that's meant for Mount Vernon.
And they have a completely, and those communities have a completely different set of needs. So here's the deal. It's like simple. There's a million little things that are tied to the census data. The census data is like the gold standard. Anybody who's trying to plan anything, they're going to look at census data to figure out how to scale whatever that service is. And the biggest one of all is the congressional delegations. The number
we could lose a congressional seat.
You could lose a representative in Congress, and that's devastating.
And actually, they said New York State is in danger of losing 2.
Right.
And one of them is here, where we just got African American voted in. One of them is here. Either we could get redistrict, so in the next election, they won't be our representative,
Right.
or our representative, or we're going to get combined with another district.
And AJ, it's not an idle threat. These redistrictings happen every 10 years. You know, like Elliot
Yes.
Engel, who's on his way out the door right now, the district that he represents right now, that's not the district that he represented 32 years ago when he started.
Right.
It was redrawn a couple of times. Every
So
time there's a census, they redraw the lines.
Let me do this. Since Lorraine's not here, I told her to type in the thing. Lorraine said in Yonkers, we were short a little over 3,100 folks to hit the 200,000 mark. Yonkers is in danger of losing 25 million a year.
Right.
Times that by 10 years.
Right.
Just to give you an idea. And again, as they said earlier, this is your WIC program. This is your Pell Grants. This is your STAT program.
It's Title I funding for schools.
This is your roads, your infrastructure. And I don't know about Yonkers. Well, Yonkers too, but Mount Vernon, potholes is making people have to fix their tires and
Right. It's all those things. It's all those things.
So
It's
these are
potholes, it's Title I funds, it's things like Section 8 housing. It's all kinds of stuff. You got to get in there and you got to be counted, or you don't get those resources.
And Cynthia said something. She texted me, and I think she's listening. And her text, I want to read her text exactly again, because it was something I didn't know. She said the census also guides how much rent a person pays. They take the information and create a median. The reason rents are so high is because those who complete the census are of a certain income bracket. A lot of the people of a lower income bracket are not filling out the census. So the census, the medium is up here with all the people who are filling it out. So it even can affect how much rent you pay. And that's a coffee table issue for everybody. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of renters. That's one more reason for you to fill it out.
I got
AJ.
one more for you. Yeah, sorry, Bob. Sorry, Bob.
That's all right. Welcome, Charles. Nice to hear your voice, man. I was curious. Right. So Lorraine said we just fell short in Yonkers of the 200,000 mark. Right. Does the census categorize cities into sizes that determine the amount of money that you get? So I thought somehow when I heard the discussion, Yonkers is considered a different type of city if its count is below 200,000 versus above 200,000. I'm just curious if Lorraine could elaborate any more. Is there anything to what I said, or am I just misunderstanding how to process?
Well, missing that mark, that at the 200,000 mark, there's a lot more resources that the city would get. There's a lot more funding that they would get when you reach that number 200,000, and being grossly undercounted like Mount Vernon, which we believe there's at least 100,000 people here in Mount Vernon. That's the number that people are throwing around, and we're getting 60,000. We're grossly undercounted, and we're not getting that funding. You understand what I'm saying? And also, one of the elected officials from Yonkers says getting over the 200,000 mark also now makes Yonkers, what do y'all, the fifth largest?
No, it would make us, if we were to go over the 200 mark, it would make us the third largest city in the state.
Right. So now you're that's another significant increase.
Exactly.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And funding and everything. You know what I'm saying? So
And it has a multiplying effect because look, if you become the third largest city in the state, how many hospitals are there in Yonkers? Half a dozen?
right.
Right? There's probably at least 5 or 6 hospitals. Every one of those hospitals is going to use those same population statistics to determine how many beds, how many ambulances, how many emergency rooms, how many staff members are needed.
Can I interrupt you?
That stuff matters.
And in reverse, Montefiore is going to use the low numbers as an example of why they should close the hospital.
Precisely.
Greater numbers makes it harder for them to close the hospital because we got 90,000 people here. You know what I'm saying? That's supposed to 60,000. You know, it's a little harder to make that case.
That's
you know what I'm saying? Using that. Lorraine said there are 3 hospitals in Yonkers.
There you go.
Right. Environmental impact studies.
I'm going to answer my door, so y'all keep talking.
Just to extend the point, environmental impact studies to extend AJ's point, do depend on census numbers in order to determine the number of people who live in an area who might be affected by any kind of proposed change. So there are lots of ways in which this will have long-lasting consequences. A question I was curious about, Carmen, Melissa, Charles, any of you guys who might have some insight. I'm curious to know if the census has any impact on the county legislator, the way that, you know, representatives to the county legislator are allocated in the same way at the state and federal level, or is it no?
Well, do you mean county exec or?
No, in terms of the number of legislators.
He's asking about the Board of Legislators. How are those lines drawn? And I don't remember how those lines are drawn. Yeah, but somebody draws those lines, and I'd be willing to bet anything they're looking at census data to make those decisions, Bob.
Right.
What else have they got?
Yes,
what else is there?
Because usually
happens.
the draw, no, that is correct. Dr. Bob and Mrs. Stern, that's correct, because all the county lines get drawn after the census. They don't get drawn before. At the 10-year mark, after the census comes out, that's when they start drawing the lines. So it's got to be something that it is. I thought it would only affect Congress, but I just remember that that is correct. They drew it after the census. Yeah.
And Lorraine said only federal representation.
Yeah, federal. Yeah.
Not county, only federal representative, she said. Yeah.
That's why they say the politicians pick their voters, because they use the census data to determine, you know, who's going to be in or out of their catchment areas. But Bob, look, you work in a research institution. Every study of every kind touches census data at some point. It's like it really is like a golden reference document for everything that happens for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. And as you said, Charles, it's not just academic research, but it's policy-oriented research that has a concrete impact on matters of governance, whether it's the economy or other areas as well. You know, I regularly am peering through the American Community Survey or census returns to try to figure out some of these trends, and I know others are doing it as well. And it'd be unfortunate if we decide to opt out under the belief that somehow or the other this information is going to be abused and misused, when in fact what it means is that we won't count at all again.
Now, before I came on, did you folks talk about American Community Survey and the difference between that and the general census?
No.
Okay, so Bob knows what I'm talking about, because this came up in an earlier version, edition of this show. So American Community Survey is a census survey, but it is a different thing from the general census that you're all talking about right now. The general census is this short form. I think it's less than 10 questions or 10 questions, no immigration questions. American Community Survey, this I'm learning firsthand this year, is a different thing. It is a long form, but it's really long. I mean, I got this thing and I thought it was the census. I filled it out, come to realize it's a different thing, and not everybody is sent the American Community Survey. And it's got a million inventive questions like, you know, how many cars do you own? How often do you buy gas? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, mortgage, do you pay rent? How much is your rent? How much is your mortgage? All this stuff. And you're supposed to answer it. You're supposed to do it. But that provides a lot of very granular details that marketing agencies use and companies use and all kinds of institutions take advantage of. That's not this. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the thing that there's a short number of days left for. The thing that the numbers are low on and that there's a short number of days left for is the general census of 2020. And it's a short form.
I did want to say, because we have viewers and people that are watching now and who follow Black Westchester who are not in Westchester, and some who are not even in New York State. This information is generic information that if you live in any other county of New York State, this applies to you too. The dates apply, the count applies. All of this, a lot of this information given, I know because politics is local, and we want to make it local, and I wanted to concentrate on the low response cities of Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and Peekskill. But this information is for all of Westchester. This information is for all of New York State. And when I put this up in the links that you can click on, the number is the same. The 800 number, the 844 number is the same for everybody. All this. So I just want somebody to be like, oh, well, I live in Buffalo and that doesn't apply to me. This does apply to you.
Oh,
as well.
Of course it does.
No, I just want to get that out there because we have people from Buffalo and we have people from other places in Long Island and the 5 boroughs and other places of New York and other places around the country. Atlanta people in Baltimore and all that watch us too. So
I want to clarify something. I heard. I think your name is Melissa, correct?
Yes.
Did I hear you say earlier that although there are days left to respond, the mail-in is no longer open? Did I hear you say that?
So So let me clarify. So no more mail-ins are being mailed to homes. So if you've received a paper ballot or a paper form, and you still have that, you can submit that. But if you lost it or displaced it or something, there's not going to be another one sent to you. So the only other options are the online and by phone.
Right. And I want to step further with the things being done because of the election and the slowing down of the postal service. There's only 38 days left. So if you want to guarantee that your numbers are counted, the phone and the online option are stronger options. If you wait 2-3 weeks before you mail your thing in, there's and whatever voter suppression and other things they're going to be putting between now and then, we don't know. They get rid of sorting machines. They're getting rid of mailboxes. They're telling postal workers to go home at the time they're supposed to go home and don't no overtime and all these other things. So we don't know how that slows down the process. And for your census to count, the phone and the internet options are the stronger options. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I encourage people, if you can do it one of those 2 ways, do it. This way you don't have to worry about your thing didn't go in. And they didn't really, and because of whatever they're doing with the Postal Service, which there's a game bigger than all of us here is being played. You know what I'm saying? We want to make sure that your information arrives before the deadline. And by mail, I can't guarantee that's going to happen. And I wanted to bring that up, especially with the vote coming up and everything. And I know this is not about the vote, but I can't miss the opportunity about saying that with the vote as well. Your vote's November 3rd. That's a little bit more than 38 days. That's another month or so. Let's not wait till the last minute. The first day that you can, if you're going to do mail-in, the first day that you can request your mail-in, request your mail-in. And the first day that you get it, fill it out and mail it back in. Because no matter how they slow things down, if you get it in right away, you're definitely in there. If you're waiting around, these things, like, it would have had to be postmarked by that date. I don't know what they're doing with the post office, and it's a new game now. So let's eliminate that. And if you can vote in person and early vote, that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, early vote. First day early vote, I'm going in. Like Bob took me last year. Early vote, bang. The first day I'm going. But let's not get caught up in that game. They're trying to systematically suppress our vote, and because of those actions, it could also systematically suppress your census. I think that's important to get out there.
Right. And that early voting thing is very complicated. There's a lot of dates and a lot of little deadlines. That's what I was working on all afternoon, trying to organize that in such a way that I could kind of get something out to my audience, AJ. And I got to tell you, you go to the Board of Elections website, and it's just like it's like a chicken soup of dates and deadlines, and it's ridiculous.
I want to stop you right there because we're coming to the end of the show, and we got plenty of other time to focus on the election.
Right.
We have 38 days. 2 things Lorraine wrote for Melissa in 2010. We had a 64.6 counting rating. What is the percentage right now that Yonkers has?
Yonkers currently we're at 57.2%.
So 7% left. So if
Exactly.
nobody else fills out now, you're already losing 7% more than what you had 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is devastating. Which is devastating.
That's very important. And Hector Santiago said, "How can we help? How can the community help?" I dealt with that with the Mount Vernon people. There are people who filled out their census already. I'm not sure if this is what he said, but I'm going to ask it like this. People filled out their census, but they still care about their community. How can they get involved? What things can they do to help to make sure some of the people that didn't fill out, that they can do as, residents?
AJ, I think you had mentioned it before. It's literally, or maybe Dr. Bob had mentioned it. It's literally going to two of your friends, your family member, your cousin, and just asking if they filled out and ensuring that they filled out their census. It's if you're in an apartment building and you have 5 apartments there, maybe knocking on your neighbor's doors and just reminding them, hey, did you fill out your census? Do you know there's still time to fill out your census? That's the level that we're at right now, and just word of mouth and being the trusted voice within your community. It's if you're, in the grocery store and you have the cashier that's there asking that person, did you fill out your census? Right. There's still time to fill out your census. And that's how we're going to do it at this point.
And again, if my pastor had said something before, and he would say, you reach out to people and introduce them to, what you learned in church and stuff. And he said, if everybody just reached out to the people they know, there would never be a reason to go out to strangers because everybody knows somebody.
Exactly.
I'm reinventing that. If everybody reaches out to the people on their block, on their floor in their building, there won't be a need to go to nobody you don't know, because everybody will get covered. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, it's got to be every block. There can't be a block in a building that nobody filled nothing out. So, if you just reach out to the people, your block, and also your family members, and also your friends, there'll never be a need to go to nobody that you don't know, because we will all have covered everybody.
Hey, AJ, did at any point in the hour or since 6 p.m., did anybody read out the phone numbers?
Yes, they did. And,
okay, good.
And the Mount Vernon people, they also put it in the comment section.
Oh, good.
And all that, everybody involved, I asked the Mount Vernon people, send me all information, because I'll put this up as an article in Black Westchester. The video will be at the top. All the information will be at the bottom. And then any links people need, they can just click on it. They only have to go to the site. You know what I'm saying? And any email address, anything that they need, and any phone numbers, they won't have to look them up. It'll just be right there.
No, that's great, because there's one phone number for English, there's another phone number for Spanish,
right,
and then there's a bunch of languages.
There's a bunch of languages that the Mount Vernon people actually, she actually did good. Tamara actually read the number in Spanish, and Lorraine said she was correct. So that was actually great. But there's a bunch of languages, and they sent me, Maria from Mount Vernon sent me the list of the different languages and all that stuff. So Lorraine is saying also census takers are out there. Encourage folks to open their doors for them. They were in my neighborhood yesterday. Janelle Britton, she said they were in her neighborhood yesterday. Bob said they were at his mother's house today. So if you so the people listening to this live and will watch the video later, if someone knocks on your door and they're doing the census, open your door. And fill it, and if you don't trust them, just remember the information here in Black Westchester. You can fill it out online. You can call in yourself. And if you have the thing and under your couch or under your bed or wherever it fell, you were mailed something. Find that and fill it out and send it out tomorrow. Go ahead, Bob. Bob has something to say, and then I'm going to do last words for everybody.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. So everyone's aware.
Your voice, we're losing you. I don't know if you're close enough. Your audio. Okay. Would you like to write it in the text and I can read it? Okay. I want to go through. So Carmen, last words. So we're coming to the end of the show. Anything to encourage people? I hope we've reached people. I hope we set some some minds at ease. I hope that we've informed some people. If you're watching this, also share this with other people who may not have seen it. Share this on your Facebook page. Share when I send this out on my email list, I'm gonna ask all of y'all to have email lists to mail it out on your email list.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We want to reach everybody. Lorraine's last words are thank you, wonderful ladies, for coming on. You ladies did great. That's Lorraine's last words.
And thank you for
Thank
having,
you.
thank you for having us. Thank you, Lorraine, for always being a champion and for our community. Thank you, AJ. Your ideas are wonderful. Dr. Bob, it's always a pleasure. I really appreciate if everyone could just say, let's be counted and touch somebody, knock on your neighbors, talk to your friends, just like AJ says. It's up to us to get the word out. This is our first voice that we do, is to be counted. Thank you so much, AJ, for having us. Thank you.
Not a problem. Melissa.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing. I love what everyone is doing here. It's for our people, it's for our community, and we count. Just one thing about census takers, if you don't want anyone knocking on your door, fill out the census, because they're only knocking on your door because you haven't filled out your census. So be counted, and thank you again.
Yep, that will eliminate people coming to your door. Yes. Well, while I have a second or two, is there anything that I didn't ask y'all, or any piece of information that you felt was important to get out that maybe I didn't capture or something? Was there anything that falls in that category?
I think we covered.
And then census, I think you got it.
Yep, he got it.
We will revisit after the census, because I'm going to be pushing this for the next 38 days. After that, we're going to do a strong push on the election. So
right,
I will have you back on, and we will be talking about the importance of the election, the importance of vote, how to vote, and all the things that people need to know about voting.
That's a whole complicated thing, but thank you for having me on here, guys. Dr. Bob,
any last
AJ,
words, any information you wanted to give out that we didn't give? Also, let people know how they can follow you as well.
Sure. You can go to redbluetalk.com. It's all there, or facebook.com/redbluetalk. Like, subscribe. You guys know what to do. I love it. I'm going to be on WVOX at 3:00 tomorrow afternoon, and every Monday afternoon at 3:00. And yeah, go check out redbluetalk.com. But listen, all I want to say is, with the census, dial that 844 number. You'll be done in a few minutes. It's very quick, very short number of questions. Be counted. It's nothing but upside. You got to participate in the census. It just touches everybody's life in so many ways.
And if you don't have a phone, everybody knows somebody who has a phone.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I'm serious. I mean, seriously, if you and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Corona has hit everybody hard. There's some people that ain't got phone service right now. If you don't have a phone, reach out to someone who do. I need to fill my census. Can I use your phone real quick?
That's right. And by the way, if you have a disability, they have a TDD number also that you can connect to. So for people that have hearing disabilities.
Send me that in message or email, and I'll make sure I include that in the yes. Dr. Bob, last words, anything that you want to add, say, or anything?
It's a pleasure to join with you, Charles, Carmen, Melissa, and Lorraine Lopez. And I hope everyone follows our encouragement and completes their census.
I just want to reiterate again, there's 38 days from today. The government, they're forcing, and this is to my people, my Black and brown people. This is Black Westchester. This is people before politics. We keep it real. There are people that do not want you to vote. There are people that don't want you to be counted. They you know what I'm saying? There are systems in place to make sure that you're not counted, to make it harder for you to be counted and harder for you to vote. It is your responsibility not to let them win. You understand what I'm saying? It is your responsibility. We have to hold our elected officials accountable when they don't do what we need them to do. But we need to hold ourselves and our communities accountable when we're not doing our part. We can't just vote and go to sleep for 4 years and wake up and vote again. There's a lot more to it than that. And the census, there's a lot more to it than that. We have to be involved. Obama said 10 years ago, whatever it was, be the change that you want to see. You understand what I'm saying? You have the power. This is one of the easiest things you can do for the betterment of the future of your community. One of the most, and for all my activists out there, what Bob said, one of the most nonviolent things you can do to make change in your community is fill out your census and then vote. Those are two of the most nonviolent things you can do that can be the most effective. And the census is even more important. It comes to money for your community. All those things you complain that the elected officials are not doing, this gives them money to do it. Lorraine said, shout to Mayor Spano. He is using every resource available to encourage folks to fill out the census. And Charles Stearns just added the number of the hearing impaired into the comment section for anybody who needs that. And I will put that in the article. Listen, people, it's on us. It's a lot of things we want other people to do for us. These things we can do for ourselves. And again, we're in the 50s right now. That means half of the money available to your city, to your municipality, to your town or village is being left on the table. And if you work at your job and your boss only gave you half of the money, you're not leaving that office without the other half of your money. You understand what I'm saying? If someone owes you money, you're not letting them pay you half and get off. You want the other half of your money. Well, the government owes you this money. Let's not let them get off by not giving us all the money we deserve. That's all I have to say. I think that's all the comments. Thank you for everybody who tuned in.
Thank you.
Thank you for all my guests that came through. Please, ladies, if y'all need to get anything out over the next 38 days and y'all need to get it out, please contact me or contact Lorraine and she will contact me and we will get it out. Thank you, Charles, as always, for coming in.
Thank you, AJ.
What you bring to it. This has been Black Westchester Presents, another COVID edition of the People Before Politics radio show, episode 272, the 2020 Census edition. Last thing in housekeeping, the 3-year anniversary of the newspaper is out. Get your copies. If you're having a rally or anything, and you need copies and you're willing to come to Mount Vernon, I got a stack for you. Also, we're working on the September issue. In our effort to support small businesses, we know that everybody can't afford $6.50 for a full-page ad or even $3.75 for half-page ad. Our quarter-page ads are $2.50. But for the month of September, for all the small businesses, we're taking another $75 off and offering them for $175. And this so you can advertise your business, so you can promote your business. I mean, that's the best we can do. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could offer it even less, but you know, and if you can afford to get that to us September 1st, artwork and your payment, and we'll get you into September paper. And for the elected officials, this is more important. This is important too. So we're releasing the paper on the 15th of the month now. So if you're running in the November 3rd election, you need to advertise in the September 15th or the October 15th issue, because the November paper doesn't come out to November 15th. That's going to have results, hopefully. So if you're trying to promote, you need to hit us now for September and October. Good, hit us for both, actually. Take both out. So anyway, I just want to explain that for all your elected officials. And if you want a team of somebody who's running for office, let them know that too. That's it. I think we covered everything. Shout out to Damon K. Jones. He, my partner. We had a very successful rally in Greenberg Thursday. A rally for the Black and brown lives that were lost to senseless gun violence. A lot of people came out and spoke. It was very good. You can see it right now in its entirety on blackwestchester.com. Most of the things we dealt with are on blackwestchester.com. This video also will be on blackwestchester.com. I think that's it. I'm AJ Woodson. I'm out. Everybody have a blessed day. Until next time, peace.